Okay. All right, I think folks have started to join in. Awesome. All right. Great, great, great to see everyone. If you are here, you can hear us. Maybe just say hello in the chat. And let's see, attendee can submit questions. Yep. Questions. Okay. Make sure the chat is open. All right. Hey, Reginald, how's it going? Good to see you. Awesome. All right. Looks like folks can hear us. All right. Welcome for those who have joined. Just confirming these emails have gone out. All right, we're going to wait another minute or so before we get started. But again, welcome to those who have joined us. All right, we are about 5 after the hour, so I think we'll go ahead and get started as more folks start to join us. But first, I just wanted to welcome everyone for joining us for our Q3 2025 ADF webinar, and very, very excited to have everyone here today. We have an amazing panel of speakers and professionals who are going to be telling us all about their great work that they're doing, on the continent. And before we get into it, just want to give you some context on, why we're even having, this webinar. We've seen that there's a need for to define the African drone narrative. And there's a lot of conferences, of course, that happen internationally, and everyone's always wondering, what's going on in Africa, where are the opportunities, what are those use cases, and we know that we need to do our part to amplify, those use cases and stories to help grow this industry in a number of different ways. So when we were conceptualizing this topic, I knew that everyone, of course, was wondering, what is the state of the industry? Where are things happening? Where's the opportunity? And that's exactly why we have 4 phenomenal founders, entrepreneurs, in the space who are all doing some really, really amazing work when it comes to drone technology, and really just hearing about their story and where they've come from, and the challenges as well. So I think we're all going to learn a lot from each other, during this session. And I want to encourage everyone to ask questions as well. This is not a traditional webinar where you have to, wait to the end to get your question asked. If there's a topic that you hear about or something that you want to find out more insight about, just ask, ask inside of the chat. Regardless of where you are from or what language that you speak as well. We want to encourage everyone to give us their thoughts and feedback and questions as they come up. For those who are not familiar with the African Drone Forum, again, we are the largest network of drone professionals on the continent, and we believe in community, right? We believe in bringing in folks together to have these type of conversations. If you're not already on our newsletter, we are sending out emails that we'll be sending out more frequently as we move into the year. We've also, of course, been known for the events that we participate in and help plan as well. I would say that this year we are a bit more focused on the community aspect. And to that point, we have started an official organizational membership for entrepreneurs and founders who are really serious about growing and want to connect with others all around the continent. So I'll tell you more about that membership and what it entails towards the end of the program. But of course, some of our guests here are part of that founding member cohort, and we're really just excited to just amplify the story and what we're all doing. So for the webinar today, again, it's called Built in Africa, the State of the African Drone Ecosystem in 2025. And the objectives we want you all to get out of the webinar today is really to provide you with an unfiltered, regionally diverse snapshot of the African drone industry as it stands today, showcase battle-tested founders navigating manufacturing, regulations, training, and software, share tangible tools, right? So we want you to walk away with frameworks and templates that you can use to help grow the industry in your particular country, policy insights, ways that we've all been able to deal with anything from regulations to importing drones and parts, unpacking real case studies, right, from international stakeholders and partnerships. We want to spark regional and cross-sector collaboration as well. We want to be able to, again, define what a replicable framework looks like, especially when it comes to public-private partnerships. And we want to explore how to launch grassroots associations or initiatives, especially in difficult regulatory environments across Africa. So without further ado, I want to introduce our wonderful group of panelists. They all have their own really insightful stories and just inspirational backgrounds as well. So I just want to go down our line and have each of our panelists just give us a 2-minute introduction about yourself, your story, your drone story, how did you get started? And then we will go right into the questions for the day. So I think we'll start with Mr. Eric Muziga from Karis UAS out of Rwanda. So Eric, please, introduce yourself and tell us about what you do.
Thank you, Eno. I'm Eric. I'm the CEO and founder of Karis US, which was founded in Rwanda about 2014, mid-2014. So it's been 11 years. Time flies by really fast, and the drone industry back then was quite different. But essentially, we operate in about eight countries in Africa. We have two bases in Kigali and Abidjan to serve those regions. And yeah, so we evolved really to be from service providers in agriculture, mining, construction, and health, where we really did work to help reduce malaria cases in various countries, into also a software like development, because we've noticed the challenge we were having in terms of, now you've collected the data, so much data, and how do you now deliver those data in a way that our client can easily use them and make informed decisions. So we end up developing on software, Caris Analytics, which I think various drone service providers in the continent also can tap into, and happy to have those discussions. Basically, that helps you share your data easily in a format that can be used by any of your client, and really that makes you stand out. So yeah, we developed that software about 4 years ago. Now it's really ready to go and being used across the continent, and in Australia. We have also some clients there. So that's basically how we evolved. The company is a bit about now more than 45 full-time employees that are there really supporting the development and delivery of our solution across the continent. So we are also licensed in various markets, and we tend to really also leverage partnerships, because that's very important as well. As you start growing, you can't be in all the markets flying drones yourself. You need to build a network of partners. We've worked with the like of Rose as well in Tanzania, and various providers, and soon we'll be working with Tiam as well in Senegal. Yeah, so that's a quick rundown on Caris. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. And yeah, obviously Eric has a great story of growth and partnerships. And I'm sure, some of our maybe beginner business owners, they say, wow, 45, employees, and, in all these countries. But Eric started somewhere, right? Eric has built something, over time. And as you heard, I mean, this is 10, 11 years, 12 years plus of entrepreneurship, of grinding, of hard work that has led, to where he is today. So I'm excited to find out more about Caris US and Caris Analytics. But with that, I think we'll hop over to Rose. Rose, thanks for being here as well, joining us from Tanzania. Please introduce yourself and tell us about what you do.
Thank you so much, Ina, for having me. So my name is Rose Funje. I am Tanzanian, born and bred in Tanzania, and the managing director for Altitude X. My story started around 2016, where actually 2013, way back. And by then there was no drone in space that I knew of, but I and my team thought about how we could use a GPS to do some mapping. And by then it was a handheld GPS. So by 2016, 2017, that's when we realized that working with a GPS probably is not the best idea. You can automate that. And then we found a drone that could actually fly. And I think by then, when I spotted a drone, it was like, my only question was, could it carry GPS? And they told me that it can. And I quickly, the vertical that I was attracted to was agriculture. And we've done a lot in agriculture. And the brand name used to be AgriInfo. Fast forward 2 years ago, I got a business partner who wanted to come in and expand the angles. So now we're into agriculture. That's one angle. So we do spraying in the agriculture space. We're also into 3D modeling. So surveying infrastructures like telcos. That's one angle, that's a vertical that we serve. And we're also into satellite data, where we serve agriculture space. in that space as well. So that's in a nutshell. That's what we do, and we are still very small. We are a company of 5, and we do hire pilots on a need basis when projects come in. But yeah, so that's my journey, and that's what we're doing in Tanzania.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Another great story of just evolving with the industry, right? You know, when certain opportunities come, again, being able to partner, being able to, you know, look to that next business opportunity and really leverage, you know, your years of experience to, you know, to build a great company. So yeah, thank you so much for the introduction. And we have some, of course, more questions for you. And again, a reminder to everyone, as you are hearing our speakers tell their story, any questions that you have, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will absolutely get to those questions as well. Next, we have Mr. Nathan from Terra Industries joining us from Nigeria. And Nathan, I'll let you tell everyone about yourself and what you're building over there in Nigeria.
Thanks a lot, yeah. Hi, everyone. I am Nathan. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, okay.
Okay, yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Nathan, co-founder and CEO of Terra Industries. Essentially, we are the leading infrastructure security company. We build autonomous systems such as drones to protect critical infrastructure like mines, oil pipelines, refineries across the continent. And in the last year, we opened Africa's largest drone factory here in Nigeria. We export our systems to over 9 countries, winning over $12 million in contract revenue. And we now protect $11 billion worth of critical assets across the continent. Yeah, it's been a crazy journey so far. Started this company around June last year when I was 21, and yeah, the big vision for us even goes beyond Africa. We want to be able to protect critical infrastructure across the globe, and already we have some systems that have been deployed to certain parts of the world like Eastern Europe and even Canada. So it's been a very exciting journey so far. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And yeah, really inspirational. I know you have a history of, you know, entrepreneurship and saw the opportunity, you know, in the drone space. So we're definitely excited to learn more about your ventures and your partnerships and how you've been able to expand, you know, quickly as well. But with that, we'll have our last but certainly not least panelist, Mr. Tiam Raji from Senegal, to tell us a little bit about himself and his company and how you've been able to grow in the drone space as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues, panelists, and thank you to almost all the people who have joined us from various parts of Africa and the world. My name is Raji Tiamiru. You can call me Tiam. Founder and CEO of Courant, a company based in Senegal, registered in Senegal. We've been around, just like Rose said, we've been around since 2016. We are well known for training and certification on the continent. That is what we are really known for at this stage, where we took it upon ourselves to be able to kind of like capacitate some of our communities, our users, operators on the continent, because not everybody have access to training outside the continent. So we decided to raise that challenge, and we've been able to do that since 2016, training over 500 people across the continent, English and French speaking. We are based in the French speaking region, but we actually cover across many parts of the continent, delivering certification that is known worldwide. We provide certification in collaboration with our partners from from UK. I actually got into drone myself after serving in international development for over 20 years, working across globe in many international organizations, including UN, USAID, and what have you. And it is during that time that I decided to actually, back out to be able to serve the continent in a different way. After I have made some good money and have enjoyed myself, I decided to kind of like, serve my continent in a different way rather than serving into organizations. And in so far, I think it's been a good journey. We've been able to set up drone academies in Senegal, in Cote d'Ivoire, in DRC, in Togo, in Benin, and we keep moving based on needs, based on the relationship we have with the CAAs in the countries. We've trained people from all part of the continent, and we decided to kind of like extend the training closer to our communities rather than pushing them to leave their country towards looking for training and capacitating. So we train on certification and photogrammetry across all sectors. On the side, the company also started last year to provide services to some clients on the continent, particularly starting from Senegal in oil and gas, telecom, and mining. And that has been, so far, a journey we are trying to build on based on trust that we have from clients and partners. I'm also the leading director for Senegal Flying Labs, a network that is actually promoting social goods and integrating drone and data into our workflow across sectors. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. Another, just great inspiration for what you've been able to grow and switching, careers and still finding something that you really are passionate about. So excited to really dive into what you all have been doing. But first, before we find out more from our panelists, we actually want to meet, those of you who are on the call here. So we have actually our first poll, really just to tell us where you are from, like where are you calling us from? What country are you in? I'm really just curious to see where all of you are joining us from. So you should see a poll pop up, and just type in your answers and we'll be able to see those in just a few seconds. So I see eight people have answered, 9, 10. All right. Thank you. We'll give this a couple seconds to go. 17 people, thank you. All right. Excited to see these answers here. All right, we'll give about 10 more seconds and then we'll close out the poll. All right, we'll close in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so we ended the poll. Let's see, can you see the details? All right. Oops, let me see. It shows the details. Let's see. Okay, share results. All right. Can you all see? All right. Can you all see this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So awesome. We have everyone from Ghana to Pretoria, South Africa. Okay, Mauritius, Kenyan in Germany, Kenya, Saudi Arabia. Okay, awesome. We can see kind of where the bigger joining countries as well. So thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to engaging you wherever you are, and we're excited to keep this going as well. All right, so we have someone from Senegal. I think he typed it in as well. All right, welcome. So we're going to get into as they say, the meat and potatoes of the discussion today. And of course, entrepreneurship is not easy by any sense. Every one of our founders here, I'm sure, can attest to, times that have really tested them over these last, 10, 11, 12 years of being in the industry. But that is going to be my first question, and we'll just get maybe like a 1 minute, a story or just kind of insight that you want to share. But the question for the panelists is, just tell us about a moment that really tested your business. And how did you push through, right? Because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, on the continent, and I mean, it could be regulations, it could be, importing drones, it could be people not paying you, right? There could be a number of different issues that go. But the question is, maybe tell us something about a challenge. You can be as open as you want, and then how did you push through that challenge when it comes to, your business? So we'll kind of mix it up. Maybe Tiam, you want to maybe kick us off, and then we'll go to the others around from there. So yeah, a challenge, and then how did you push through that challenge?
One, I think to go straight forward to the question, one of the most challenging point as part of my journey from the beginning was to be able to have human resources to recruit. One of the most challenging issue, in my opinion, from where we sit today, is to be able to get qualified, professional, honest human resources to recruit on this continent. I don't know for my colleagues, panelists, I think we can open the debate, but to start with, that was the challenge. And I remember, and I thank him, I want to cite Dr. Hajj, Ibrahim Hajj, who actually told me, from where you are starting from and in the domain that you are getting into, you have to rebuild everything from scratch, because there's no professional human resources from this sector that you can, recruit today and get on board. So either you go by recruiting interns and train them to become professionals. We started off from that by recruiting 6 interns, 3 ladies, 3 boys, and then we started from there. Today, they are the best on the continent. And that's what pushed us to start looking at how do we resolve this? For someone like Rose tomorrow to be able to recruit somebody, from someone like Eric to recruit, somebody already trained, certified, and ready to be productive on the market. That's where we got into training. So I think one of the challenges we need to look at from this point, I think, is first of all to have qualified professionals that can work in our sector, that should be able to help us to produce, the services we want to produce to our client. And it's not about only knowing to fly the drone or knowing to analyze data, but it's all a package, people who are willing to take the risk, to start off, and it's not easy. You won't be able to recruit somebody free of charge on this continent to work for you, to try your energy, to try your team with you. You have to pay, and you need to pay. If you don't pay, they're going to leave you. And that is a big challenge, and I'm sure my fellow panelists will testify to this. Thank you.
Yeah, no, great. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's very true. To get great talent, you have to pay great talent well. You also have to train them. And yes, for someone to be coming from a drone background that's already qualified and ready, I always say, the good people are probably already at another company anyway, right? So it's like you have to recruit well. You have to have a training program that you take people through. You have to have SOPs that you write. So when you bring these people on board, they know exactly how to do that function of the job. So yeah, thanks for that insight. Maybe we'll jump to Nathan. You're building a manufacturing. You are sourcing parts and testing and things. So yeah, maybe tell us in your journey so far. What has been one of the things that have tested your business, and how did you push past that challenge?
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we faced was understanding what market to build for. Very early on, we wanted to, serve the military, building combat systems and all that. Like that was what the dream started out as. But we've very quickly understood that, first of all, there isn't as much money in military drones as most people think, especially when it comes to Africa. There is actually more money in protecting like infrastructure than in arming the warfighters. And this was something that we had to learn the hard way in the first few months. So I think understanding the markets and also how we went about our supply chain. So we build both the hardware and software. On the hardware end, we have both our aerial, ground, and maritime drones. And on the software, we essentially have an operating system that powers threat intelligence and autonomy across the systems. And 75% of most of the components are built in-house, but ensuring that we have a resilient supply chain that can survive, conflicts, survive Trump, survive all sorts of unexpected macro geopolitical challenges was really, really key for us. And that was actually one of the reasons we went away from China. So today our supply chain, especially in terms of sensors, is really, really robust and very China-free to ensure that no matter what happens, even in the event of a global conflict, we can still survive. So I think, those two were the biggest issues that we had very early on.
Yeah, no, some great insight for sure. And, yes, you will face those challenges when it comes to geopolitical tensions, things that are outside of your control, right? But what do you do when supply from this country, is cut off? Is that going to take your business, totally down? So having options, vetting those options and having that quality that you can always, source from. But yeah, another great example of challenges that may come that you were never expecting and been able to push through. So I appreciate that. We'll go Rose and then Eric for this question. So a moment that tested your business and how did you push through?
Yeah, so I agree with the challenges that have been said, but I think I can add to it and say the cost of education. So that has been a challenge. When we started in 2016, there was little known within Tanzania, so to say, how do you use drones in the agriculture space? So we had to do a lot of educating in different platforms for that to be accepted, that there's actually efficiency out of it. And if people know about farmers in Africa, farmers, they want to see. So that means you also have to undergo a cost of doing a lot of demonstration and also figuring out how else do you survive in the same sector, even though you're spending a lot on this education as well as demonstration as far as what drones could do. So a farmer will tell you, this season, why don't I just give you like 2 to 5 hectares and just demonstrate for me, and then we see the output and maybe I can buy into it. So that's been a challenge, and figuring out how do you stay afloat while you're waiting and spending on these kind of costs.
Yeah. And again, like you said, these are things that aren't taught, right? You pretty much are learning in real time. So, that resilience that comes with that is very, very important. So, looking forward to hearing more about that as well. And Eric, over to you as well.
Yes, thank you. I think most of my colleagues have talked about the issues. On our hand, obviously, as an entrepreneur, you tend to face multiple issues that you have to fix at the same time, right? So at the end of the day, we are in business to grow the business and bring value to our client and also make money, because in the beginning, you really want to be servicing or as Nathan said, trying to find out which market actually will have a fast, in which you can have a fast impact and have obviously start generating revenue, because that's the fuel of the business. I think that was a really challenge, the first challenge as well, because you need to learn how to cut noise and hype and actually go for the thing that are bringing money to you, because we're in a time where on LinkedIn you might be posting something, and social media and about agriculture, at least in area where we are servicing, and people say good work, and you think, but you're not getting paid. You think that's you're on the right track. So you really need to be to know what you want, because the market definitely will have to teach you a lot. So on our end, that was the main challenge, to say, where do we focus our attention? Because you cannot do everything. You cannot spread yourself in the beginning. So you have to really focus, and then from there branch out. So from there, knowing what the market, and for us as well, it was infrastructure. We felt like we had the fast turnaround there, and then we started developing other market that requires you to be a bit more patient. So that ability to focus is quite important earlier on, because you would see things, people from different countries doing exciting stuff, but when you dig in, and they are not actually getting paid and revenue. So that's the first thing. And the second aspect of thing in the business, obviously, is looking at how do you make de-risk your business, like where Nathan was talking about the value chain. For us was the revenue. How do we de-risk the revenue so that it does not fluctuate? When you are always waiting for the next project and contract, it's not a good place to be. So earlier on, and the value of your company obviously does not, when you're raising money and they see that it's mostly project based, the valuation or the value of your business is not that attractive to most of the investors. So that's why we looked at how do we now generate recurrent revenue that every month I'm having this. And that's where the platform came in, the software came in, where we can now charge on a monthly basis. We know how much we can get. It's a SaaS revenue model, and which I think we will roll out to other drone operators as well, to give them that opportunity to make recurrent revenue. So I think those were the main challenge for us, pain point. Lastly, let's not sugarcoat it. In Africa, raising money is not easy. So how do you actually really manage well your cash flows, knowing how to delay payments for some suppliers and build relationship with them, balancing it out, and so that you don't run out of money quickly, and then obviously raise money. It's still a challenge in Africa, but once you start generating revenue, recurrent revenue, stable income, you will get a lot of people interested. So managing that as a founder in the beginning, it's always delicate and difficult. So yeah.
Yeah, no, incredible insight. And as Eric said, I mean, you have to make a business case, right? It has to make sense. And too early in the beginning of even drone use, in agriculture on the continent, you had people running around with spray drones and trying to sell that to smallholder farmers. A lot of times they don't have, the resources to pay for that type of service in the first place, right? So now you have to figure out, okay, who is going to pay for this type of service? Who should I be targeting, right? Because you have to have a business case. It's not enough to, yes, be on LinkedIn and taking all the flashy photos, but, nothing is coming in as far as the business. So you have to really prove that, go to where the need is. That's why, I really like, the Keras Analytics, platform, because it is solving a huge need, right? It's the fact that construction site managers cannot see on a day-to-day basis what's going on, on their site. So now you can have a drone, capturing image. Now you can have a stationary, camera that is solving a specific need. So yes, very much hear you on that side. I think the next kind of natural question, I see some questions coming in, so we're going to get to that right after our next question here. But of course, the elephant in the room are the regulations, and I've talked about before how, you know, even in Nigeria, you know, there's a challenge that we have where, you know, there's now this informal drone economy, right? Where you have, you know, folks who are shooting the weddings and shooting the music videos and shooting, and, you know, they want to get licensed, and they, you know, if given the ability, they would definitely go through that process. But regulations are a big factor. I even talked to someone in Cameroon the other day, and she wants to start a drone cleaning operation in Cameroon. She's gone to get the training. She's purchased the drone, but all the paperwork that she's given to the regulators, you know, are either being pushed back or all these questions about it. Why? Because it's never been done there before, right? It's so new. So the question is, when you are dealing with regulators, what has helped and what has hurt the most, right, when dealing with those? Because of course, we have to do things legally. We don't want to cause you know, issues or injury. Of course, drones are very sensitive when it comes to even the security aspect. So I'd like to just get some perspective from each of our panelists on what has helped when dealing with regulators? How have you gotten past that challenge, that hurdle? And then what advice can you give for others who are looking to do similar projects? So maybe we'll start with Rose, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I think you have the nail on the head there, because you cannot sort of operate without having all these permits from the CAAs. And for us, what has really worked is being very close to them. So first, it happens that whoever that is running that department is somebody who comes from a drone background. So they're approachable when this, I know the background, because when we were trying to figure out businesses, they're also trying to build a company, and then at some point they left and applied for a regulator, and that's what they're doing. So their understanding really helps us, because they know the hustle on the ground. Just the other day, they were with me in the office trying to figure out what processes do we have in place? Is there any sort of advising that they could do in terms of bettering the processes? So that has really helped. I know a lot of people hide from the CAAs, and it really does not help, because if they don't know you, because a lot of big concern is security. So they need to know that you're not operating a shady business, but you're rather very legit. And these are the things that you're doing. So that's one. But then what has hurt the most is sometimes, even with all this understanding, there's been issues on delays, because sometimes you have a client who really needs to see the permit, because they know that there's nothing you can do if you do not have a permit. And then the CAA is sort of delay. And when you approach them, because they are now at this friendly basis, they tell you that they're internal processes. So for us, for example, the defense comes in the process of you getting a permit. So they have multiple, so there's defense, and then there's also the very high intensive security department that also comes in to sort of go through the applications and okay that. So that's why I'm saying being closer helps, because then if you're somebody who repeats to ask for permits, then that process gets a little smoother as opposed to first-time users. But yeah, so that's what has helped. But then sometimes it has hurt, and some of the hurdles we came to realize that, again, if you had told them earlier that the process is taking longer, our client needs permits and all that, they are at a liberty to sort of write a letter that will help you secure that contract. So I think the message here is, how do you get really close to them and be transparent on what you're doing, so that to lessen that tension, because you have all this other tension on getting a job. You really don't want tension on just completing that that part of you starting to implement it?
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. It's relationships, building relationships. It's being trustworthy. One of our other calls that we were having, a service provider out of Nigeria, he was talking about how they are proactive when they have a crash, right? They're not waiting or hiding it under the rug that, hey, something happened. You self-report, right, when incidents happen. That's how you gain trust. That's how you start to open up those opportunities, because aviation traditionally is a very safety conscious industry, right? And when you're coming in with the drones, you have to carry that same level of intensity, right, when it comes to how proactive you're being, with that safety. So yeah, really good example there. Just curious, maybe to hear from Nathan about the regulations, because dealing with the Nigerian government and being able to be the first, with a drone factory. I'm just curious. I mean, what does that paperwork look like? I mean, especially when you're expanding to other countries, like what are the type of things that they ask for when you are approaching both Nigerian government and then governments in other countries as well? What have you learned from that process?
Yeah. When we first started, there wasn't anything like a manufacturing license pretty much anywhere on the continent. The only license that existed were for the operators. And, one thing we do is we don't operate in any way, because if we start to operate, then, we are looking quite monopolistic. So we have a network of partners that we work with for all our contracts across the continent. Essentially, it was really just having close relationships and working with the right agencies, from the NSA, the NCAA. We essentially just had to get basically a sort of permit to build, because there was no license. And in fact, we are actually working with a few agencies to see how we can create, the first manufacturing license in the continent. So this is, it was very interesting very early on, because no one really knew how to place Terra Industries. But it was also one of the reasons why we stayed away from becoming operators, because that would have caused a lot of issues and would have slowed us down, and we needed to move really fast. Now, in regards with exporting, that has been a bit trickier. Again, the good thing is we don't also build combat systems, or at least armed drones, which would have brought the full force of all the defense agencies on board, and we couldn't make a single export without them being on board. But because we are more focused on surveillance systems, both our aerial drone, ground drones, and maritime drones, it was a bit more loose there. But of course, once again, we also inform the right government agencies of all our exports. Each of our customers are heavily vetted with the government agencies, to ensure that we're not selling our systems to shell companies. And also, our software is built in a way that you really can't use our systems without our software. So that makes it really hard to, to compromise our systems, or to try and modify them in a way that could harm civilians. So yeah, it has been very interesting. And I think the biggest, the biggest will I say blocker we have seen is more on the geopolitical scale. As we are serving more and more assets and serving more and more countries. So legally, just for everyone here to know, legally, our holding company is an American company. We are legally registered in the US. We only have subsidiaries scattered across the continent. So this is how we've been able to actually attract quite a lot of funding in the millions of dollars. But even outside of that, it also creates a very special problem where we also cannot protect certain assets that are either Russian backed or Chinese backed. And yeah, it creates all sorts of issues. So it has been very interesting seeing how to navigate that as a manufacturer on the continent. But I do think that as more and more people are looking into manufacturing, I've been speaking to quite a number of players, and more people are saying that there needs to be African systems to solve African problems. And more people are looking to set up their own, even though it's assembly plants, that they want to start with. There would be a lot more clear framework of what a manufacturing license would look like across the continent.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, like you said, I mean, you just have to be able to provide those answers and protect the bottom line, at the end of the day. And yeah, really good example. I think this also kind of feeds into where I wanted to go next, as far as, and this is actually a question inside of the chat, where Kapil is asking about BVLOS. He's also asking about, UTM. Of course, there's a lot of conversation about, how do we keep our skies safe? And this, of course, is a big topic when it comes to the regulators. You may even have some that want to move forward and licensing, a lot of drones to operate, but if there's no UTM system or way to track or to divert, certain traffic, or if there are no BVLOS, regulations in place, where do you start, right? How do you get these things going? So just curious, maybe between Tiam and Eric, your approach to the regulatory environment for BVLOS, how have you been able to either, do projects that involve that? And then is there anything on the horizon as far as the UTM is concerned, and when we can potentially expect a standard across Africa? Maybe Eric, you want to take that, or Tiam? That's fine, Tiam. Yeah.
All right. I want us to clarify some things, and for the audience online, we just need to be we'll make sure they understand that we're sharing our experience, we're sharing what have been our journey, and so we are open for suggestions and comments to be able to learn from your experience as well. So keep sending the questions and communicating in the group chat. I want to say on the question with regard to regulation, to support what my colleagues have said, and I'm happy to hear that Rose felt it was an open door policy that the CAA in Tanzania used to be able to be open and welcoming and communicating. I think it all boils down to how who is there and what's their level of understanding of the ecosystem. And I remember in early ages, I can't remember exactly the year. I think I met one of the captains from the CAA in Tanzania, who was trained, to understand how it works. When you do that, they are open. So please, let's all use this as a strategy, either advocacy or, capacity building, because this, as you said, these guys came from aviation. General aviation have their rules and regulations, and it's just like that. You have to follow it. Then we came in newly, wanting to use the same airspace, but at the same time don't want to follow rules, So they just want to make sure that we stay grounded until we understand where what aviation is about. Okay. Now, coming to the question about UTM, let's don't rush into this. We have no issues on this content. We're going step by step. If we rush into copying and pasting what is happening elsewhere in Europe, in Asia, in America, then we will not be able to build something long-lasting on this continent. So at this stage, we even lack some information about our own airspace in some countries. Simple information about our own airspace. How then do you think about, developing a model that it's a new market, it's a new opportunity. If anybody wants to get into UTM business, to advocate and convince CAAs in some of our countries. They are interested. They go to conferences across the continent and elsewhere. They learn about it. They know what is going on there. It is more about political will than technical will. Okay. And if I don't know for some of your countries, the panelists as well as the participants on this webinar, but in some countries, we are still far from the reality. So if you rush into trying to implement things while there's not even common, understandable, readable regulation about what to do. A few days ago, I asked a colleague from Cameroon, can I have a copy of the local regulation? I only have a sheet telling me how to get authorization. That is not a regulation. It's just a decision that you need to follow to get authorization. When you are talking to a country like Cameroon, now talking about UTM, talking about BVLOS, come on, you're going to get them crazy. Okay? We do BVLOS operations. Our sky is empty. Our sky in Africa is empty. So we still would rather develop these systems quickly if we start off well by building something long-lasting, by educating our communities and educating our CAs to learn about how this thing goes. And for some of you out there who want to get into drone-related business, there are so many opportunities, so many blocks of opportunities that you can specialize yourself on. It takes years to move from one point to the other. If you ask Nathan, he'll tell you, he started earlier. It takes so many years. So for you to be able to get into coming up with the youth, today you see some of our communities, in some of our users, they are buying the equipment to actually, how do I say, they're investing in technologies to lock their own airspace, to lock their own, infrastructures, rather than looking at the global, country, cities. In some of our countries, there are some places where aeroplanes don't go. You can do BVLOS operation 24 hours. Nobody's gonna, So let's don't look at it as if we are in France or we are in UK where there are airports all over the space. So we will have issues. So let's take it step by step, working as a community to build knowledge, to build understanding, information for our CAAs to align with us, to follow us, our communities. We will, in few years, get out of the way. New generations are going to come in. We need to have a strong ground to build something long-lasting. And what Ethan is doing in Nigeria, very soon, and I'm sure we'll discuss this as part of the discussion right now. Yeah, African, well, made in Africa drone, blah, blah, blah. Let's don't play with words. We want something that someone like Ethan building to be able to spread across many countries in Africa, get more knowledge, get more resources to be able to build something that not Senegal sitting and say, I want to build Senegal-based drone, a Nigerian-based drone. We will go divided for nothing. At the end of the day, others will come and occupy the space that we are not occupying. So please, let's take things step by step. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, that's truly inspirational, message. And I think it's very important, to understand, like you mentioned, it's a step-by-step, process. And even understanding that globally, there is no UTM global standard, right? Even in the U.S., there's a UTM system that's been tested over the past couple of years, but nothing has been rolled out on a large scale to say that, hey, this is the standard. So until we get there, it's very important to look at things from a safety lens, operate within the bounds, and progress from there. There's a comment here that we have from Ben. He says that CAAs are mostly short-staffed. Most of them have one division with 5 members. So how can technology fill the gap so that it removes the requirement of having a risk analysis on ground, hence removing processes before permit. Really interesting, question here. I can say just from a bit of global experience and dealing with the FAA, proactive technology is definitely the way to go. And I would even say the cost of doing business, right? Because to get a Part 107 FAA license in the US, it costs $175, right? You don't have to go to a certain training academy to take that test. You just schedule the test, you pay, you walk in, you pass, and you're a commercial operator. Most countries on the continent, on the African continent, it costs at least 10 times that amount before you can even touch a drone, right? By the time you get through the regulations and you submit and you pay someone to, do the SOPs for you and all these things that go into it, right? There's a huge barrier to entry. So I think the technology is one aspect, but it's the fundamental bureaucracy, right, that happens sometimes, and the red tape that goes into, again, wanting to start a business. I do, think that there needs to be a more proactive interaction with the local community. If it's sort of like a drone safety awareness, day, or some sort of activity that really garners, the attention of the entire, community and country around that use of drones. In just a few minutes, we'll have a resource that you can actually use if you do want to start an association or you do want to start a project in your country. But yes, I think it's very important that we encourage the use of technology when it comes to the adoption. It's going to make everything go much smoother. Please keep your questions coming. I know we're just up on the hour. We're going to go to the bottom of the hour and give a chance to have everyone ask their questions. We have more questions that we'll call out, but I will say maybe this is our last kind of round robin of questions, and then we'll move straight into the questions from the audience. But the big question now is, given everything that you all have learned and your evolution as a drone entrepreneur, what is the one thing that the drone ecosystem needs now to get to that next level? We talked about the regulations, we talked about the importation, we talked about those things, but when it comes to collaborative partnerships, when it comes to private-public, partnerships, like what is that best advice that you can give to the rest of the continent based on what's worked, well for you and your expansion? And then also, if you want to maybe add something about just the systems that go into building, a good business, we could touch on those areas as well. So maybe we'll start with Eric. Tell us, what is that one thing that the drone ecosystem needs now to get to the next level? What have you done to build, systems for your business? And what is something that people can take away from this discussion?
So in terms of the drone ecosystem, again, I think Tiam just put it really well. Look at, especially when you're operating in whatever country you are in, look at what is, from the business side of things, what is really needed, and avoid, cut noise again, like, and avoid getting into, I guess, nonsensical, I would say, arguments that don't really lead to where you want to go. Like, so that is very, very important. Being practical in terms of, and I like to use the word transparent, radical transparent with you, knowing with yourself, knowing what do you really want to achieve out of this. It's not about, the hype, is about actually making an impact in terms of the your company, like how do you want to bring value to the client that you are serving? And then from there, you would find out that there are many things that you cannot do yourself. And then look at how partnerships you can put in place in different countries, so that you can achieve what you want to achieve. I'm talking about maybe, for example, when we have projects in Tanzania, we reach out to Rose, like, okay, Rose, this is where the project is. Can you help us do, because you have all the license and stuff, how can we work together in ensuring that you win and we win as well, and move the ecosystem forward? Because we've seen certain people who don't like collaboration, and which is not the right way to go. We have opportunities for everyone. The market is really big for everyone, but you need to have the correct partnership and opening up those partnerships. Talked about the if you have someone who's I've had, actually, I think, if you allow me to just give out a story of even how we developed the platform, is because we apart from obviously solving the issue of recurrent revenue, we reached out with one of the leading companies that had developed almost a similar platform in Australia and in the US. And we showed them the opportunities that were there. But we told them, in the African market, these are the things that if you want to enter this market, we have to treat these things and customize things and stuff. And really, we were met with a very bad experience, I would say, saying not wanting to collaborate. And that actually created that, I would say, holy anger, saying, by the way, we can also create something in Africa that other operators can tap into, and being able to grow the ecosystem that way. So I guess my point is, be really, first of all, love the African continent, because that's where you are and you want to bring solution and work with your fellow collaborators of operators to have a bigger reach, and then follow the regulations as well, and build that, I would say, ability to be trustworthy. I think it's very important in terms of growing within the ecosystem and having it vibrant. And let's really cut noise and UTM things. Yes, they would come, but it's not the right time, as Tiam said, for us to be talking about really UTM in Africa. The ecosystems the infrastructure are different. There are other more important things as use case. Having government, I think there's some government officials maybe here understand that when you prioritize the local market as well, you're moving the industry forward, because we've seen scenarios where our own local organization, they don't trust the locals to do the work. They have to go pick someone from outside the continent. You're like, why? We are here. So it's very important to give that opportunity to the locals. They might mess it up the first time, but the second time they will get it right. Let's be patient. But the returns that we'll have on having an ecosystem that hires people, create jobs, is going to be well worth it. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I totally agree. Being patient and getting things aligned as you go ahead. There's a lot of great questions coming in, and just Eric, just really quick, there's a question from Brian. I just wanted to get your thoughts. But Brian asked, you mentioned transitioning to a SaaS model to address revenue gaps between project-based work. Could you share what the uptake of your SaaS offering has been so far, and what type of customer retention rates are you seeing? If you could give us maybe just a minute about that.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I think the uptake has been quite interesting and very encouraging. We are seeing a lot, especially in the construction industry, companies coming on board and staying. And once you have them even on the platform, obviously doing you are building also a reputation for them, because they are able to win actually more project by showing their client that, hey, we can cut costs, for example, for your site visit. If you have a supervision firm, we have a case where in Rwanda where there is actually, you saw the Zaria court that was just unveiled lately, and they were using the platform to monitor that project. And the consultant was in Kenya, a supervision firm, and they were able to cut costs to come into Rwanda in terms of visiting and stuff. So that helped them win the project and reduce their cost. So, and they are staying with us. We've seen really, and those who are on the platform, it's amazing. We're seeing really 100% of them staying. We're tracking the numbers. Yeah, and let's also remember that most of these organizations, it's not about drones. Drones are just a vehicle, but is the end product, what the data, like some of them don't even care that you're collecting the data with, let's say, static camera and stuff. So they just want the end product. We talked about drones, but we don't talk about the value, the end product. That is, your story should not be about drones, right? It's like, it's getting to a point, is about talking like a car, right? It's about what is the end product you are giving to them, the value, and how is that going to be helping them. At the end of the day, you are not the hero in the story. You are a guide to their story. You should put your client as in the center of the story, that they are going to achieve in terms of return on investment. And that's what we are seeing with the platform. So we're glad to engage further on the platform model. I think we are really looking for partners across the continent that can resell or even develop it further, because we're trying to find it in a way that is open for other operators to use, because it's going to take time for other people to develop the same thing. So that's why we are opening up for our fellow brothers and sisters in Africa to work together.
Yeah, thanks so much, for that. And just to kind of wrap that point, it's when you're entering these conversations, regardless of what industry you're in, you have to assess the need for the drone, right? If you get to a certain point, you're asking questions, hey, how long is it taking you to do this process? Or how long does it take you to deliver, this? Or how long does it take you to do this inspection? Sometimes you'll see, that maybe the drone is not the answer for this problem, right? And that's a reality that you have to understand as a sound business owner, right? Maybe it's something. So you have to be sure that the drone is the answer, right, to solve this actual problem. And then what are they doing with the data that's collected with the drone? There's a graphic that I had, what most drone business owners do, they go out, they capture the data, and they deliver the raw files, right? That's really not doing anything for your end client. How are you doing the quality assurance to make sure that the data you capture is actually usable, right? How does your client format that data and put it into their system, right? How are you adding value there? You don't just dump, files on them and expect to solve, this grand idea. So really be deliberate when you are talking to your end customer. Hey, what identify the time that you may save them, the cost that you may save them. Like, really dig into those issues before you assume that the drone is the end all be all question. One more question I actually have for Nathan here. This relates to BVLOS, ADSB, but we have two questions and comments. One from Daniel, one from Christian. So Daniel says, we've operated BVLOS nearly for 3 years successfully in an airspace that's densely populated with manned aircraft. The biggest issue is electronic conspicuity, the ability to have your aircraft visible to manned aircraft or TCAS. Followed by communication with the manned aircraft. We have to ensure that we are visible. We have to have the acceptance from manned aircraft operators. And then Christian also adds, ADSB, ADSL seem to be a readily available EC tech that unifies both crewed and uncrewed systems So what makes its uptake so slow, right? What kind of is holding up the adoption of these? So I guess, yeah, it's a question for Nathan, because I know you deal with, fixed wing, long distance drones. How have you approached this scenario? And then what are regulators asking of you when it comes to your technology?
Yeah. Funny enough, we actually just integrated ADSB into all our long-range VTOLs, which was actually requested to ensure that other aircrafts, crewed aircrafts in the airspace can at least see what our systems are doing. Because over time, we're going to have thousands of platforms across the continent carrying out different operations. In Nigeria alone, this year we have deployed hundreds of VTOLs that are scattered all over the country carrying out its operations. So this is something that we had to do really, really quickly. And in terms of why it's been slow for other companies to integrate this, I think, and really this is just me, just taking a wild guess on this, is more or less is really because it's not their own platform. It gets much harder to integrate these key components into, third-party platforms. Plus, it is really expensive. It costs us a lot to ensure that all platforms that we supply to customers can be, can be seen by other aircrafts. So yeah, this is something that we are already doing. And we do know that over the next few months, at least when it comes to Nigeria, this is something that they're going to require pretty much all operators and drone companies in total to have. So yeah, a bit of an early warning for the Nigerians in the house.
Nice, nice. Awesome. We have some really, really good questions coming in, and I think this actually is a good segue to one of the resources that we wanted to give you all here. Those who are wondering, okay, what's next? How do we apply this? Like, what is the path forward? We've had a few questions about frameworks. One from Reginald. He says, my question is, if there's a drone industry framework that has powered your business, if yes, how was that developed? Was it by the CAA or industrial sector of your country? And then we have another comment from Emmy, who says, as drone manufacturing deployment scale up in Africa, what frameworks or partnerships are proving to be the most effective in aligning local innovation with evolving regulatory standards, especially in cross-border operations? So this is actually something that we talked about as a panel before in our preparation call. Can you all see my screen, this PDF here? Is that visible? Okay. So in preparation for this session, we wanted to have some sort of, framework or guide that you can use to really map out what are those step-by-step steps that you need to take to bring this to fruition. So we're calling this the launch framework, and it's a starter kit for building Africa's drone ecosystem from the ground up. Whether you're launching a local drone association, piloting a public-private partnership, or mobilizing your community for policy change, this framework is going to give you a practical roadmap to follow. It's our tactical guide to turning vision into structure and structure into action. So just quickly, the L is for lay the foundation, A for assess the landscape, U, unlock the resources and normalize the work, C, certify the team, handoff, and scale. And we are going to send this out via email to everyone that's on the call here. But lay the foundation, start with clarity, define your mission, like who is leading, this effort. Clarify your goal, right? Identify 3 to 5 allies or early contributors who are going to really, carry and buy into your mission. Really important, check if others have already tried something similar nearby, right? Because there's no point in you reinventing the wheel if you can work and learn from a case study that's already happened. Draft a simple message, right? This could be a WhatsApp group or LinkedIn group. to rally support, and then set a 60 to 90-day plan with a real milestone, either an event or call or some funding that you're putting forth. Don't underestimate the power of WhatsApp groups, right? There's a WhatsApp group, in Nigeria, and for years, there's been this, chatter about, completing jobs and how do we get licensed, and it's a very industry friendly, group, and everyone's just trying to do what they can to move forward. But, now that group that may be seen as more of an informal kind of group of folks, they've now been invited to a national conference that happens in Nigeria every year to have discussions, to represent themselves, on a national stage, right? So this is a framework that you can use to really again garner that attention and momentum you need. The A for assess the landscape. So you've been able to lay the foundation. Now you're assessing the landscape. What are the regulatory barriers, right, or political risks? Identify the key decision makers and the gatekeepers, right? Who has to be on board for this to make it happen? Scan local and regional UAS policies. Of course, the CAA's website, ECOWAS, African Union, and then ask, how do I present my vision in their language, right? Something that they're going to understand. Don't just assume that, because we all have, ChatGPT and AI now, we could just slap something up and present it, right? Is it speaking to them? Does it have the terms and the terminology that's going to appeal to them? And then have at least one, informal conversation with a policymaker who is going to, again, be your champion, for this. You really do need someone who is going to help you, push this forward. Unlock resources. So create a credible pitch asset. I can't tell you how many times there's so many great ideas, but when I ask, how are you pitching this? How are you presenting this to the people? There's not a whole lot to look at, right? So have a one pager that talks about the mission and what you're looking to do. Create a pitch deck, right? Have it designed. There are plenty of nice graphic designers out there that can help you make it look professional, right? When you're pitching this, and then of course a detailed concept note. Leverage your WhatsApp groups, your meetup and training opportunities. Tap into the university system, right? You have a lot of students who are passionate about, drone technology and learning and testing, NGOs and other small innovation funds, and then use what you have access to, right? LinkedIn is a tremendous resource for you to find people who are serious in the industry, right? If you search online and you notice someone is doing, a great project, reach out to them, right? Just and come with some sort of value, right? Just a value add, right? Say that you want to, assist in some sort of way, or just, help, right? In some sort of way. People really gravitate to those type of relationships, not just kind of a, give me all your information so I can, do what I need to do, right? Make it mutually beneficial. Co-branding on different activities, and then looking at, alumni and even the diaspora who are also talking about this mission. The end, normalize workflows. So this is where you turn energy into systems. So set a meeting, right? Consistent meetings that help push the needle forward. Send out meeting notes after that meeting is finished, right? Don't just have the meeting and then just there's nothing until the next meeting, right? You have to do a recap. Right now, it's so easy with the use of AI. It gives you these meeting recap notes and you send it out to those so people can stay engaged and want to move to the next level. Track your wins, your lessons, and the roles of who's accountable for certain areas. Embed safety culture, right? So have your SOPs, your checklist, your emergency protocols, right? Don't just assume that these things will be kind of given to you. You have to draft these documents, right? So that it makes you that much more sound. Start with small actions that show traction, right? It doesn't always have to be the $150,000 dollar grant that you win, right? What can you do with $5,000, right? What can you do with $1,000, right? What are you going to do for free, right? It's not always that you're going to have this huge amount of funding to start this grand plan. So be resourceful, right? Use the traction that you can get that's within your grasp. Just because you don't have a drone, you physically don't own a drone, doesn't mean that you can't partner with someone who does, right? And do some sort of pilot project with that. Another thing that I've seen work a lot is, identify who are the ROC holders in your country, right? It's not always that, you have to wait to 2-3 years to get your own ROC. Maybe in the meantime, you can partner with an existing ROC holder, right, to move things forward. And of course, track inclusivity from gender, youth, and accessibility as well. To the last 2 letters, certify the team. So clarify the roles, who handles outreach, the pilots, the partnerships, the comms. Make sure you are all aligned, on values and the goals, and expectations. Assign a comms lead, right? So when certain scenarios or aspects comes up and you need to reach out to the, regulators, or you need to send out a press release or a LinkedIn post, who is that person who's going to, take that on? Having simple MOUs in place, and then always emphasizing a culture of learning, compliance, storytelling, and negotiation. And then lastly is the H, for handoff and scale. This is where you actually can launch that pilot program, have a proper debrief and document the processes, develop a slide deck or a case study that talks about what happened, right? What lessons did you learn? What comes next? Invite others to plug in, right? After you have learned all this information, make sure that you're linking your work to the Agenda 2063 from the African Union, Smart Africa, and some of these large NGOs. And then lastly, collaborate across borders, because of course, Pan-African wins matter at the end of the day. So this is just, a framework that we're going to be pushing out there. I'm going to send this via email to everyone on the call afterwards. But yeah, we felt it was very important to have some sort of framework that folks, can follow as they are growing their businesses. We are running up on the end of time. I'm super happy to see all the questions and comments here, but we will go as long as we have our wonderful panelists here. Let's see if we have a couple more last questions as we are closing out. All right. So we have Edwin, TM, great insight, unlike in the past where we copied and stolen technology. This time around, we have an opportunity to grow our own systems. Working hand in hand with the CA is key. Data protection is key when working with international partners. TM, this can be, systems can be done, and we have done it before. So yeah, now this is great insight. I think what we will do is, since we've covered so many great topics, we'll probably move to have all of our panelists just give us maybe 2 or 3 takeaways that you've gotten from today. What are your lasting kind of parting thoughts to the group? Any lessons that you learned, and how we can take this moving forward. So we'll get just a lasting kind of parting words from each of our panelists, and then we'll close out from there. So maybe we'll start with Nathan and then Eric, and then we'll continue from there.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for organizing this. This was really great. I think for me, just the biggest takeaway, and what I'm really hoping, we can start to push as a continent, is really a Pan-African coalition of some sort. Tiam and Eric was talking about this, but we need to work together. We all need to work together. We can't build the African drone industry in silos. No matter the amount of funding, no matter the amount of talents, it's just not possible. And we are seeing what is happening in Europe, what is happening in the US. They have understood that the only way to build, the drone industry, both from the manufacturing standpoint and even the operational standpoint, is as working as a team. And I think it's about time we have some sort of Pan-African coalition or group or association or whatever. Something that unites us, and we have a one voice, on certain matters, on pushing for better regulations, on educating, new entrepreneurs coming into the industry. I think this is what I'm hoping to see more over the next few months and few years, because really that is the only way the industry survives. And this is actually a problem that has, in many industries in Africa, are always built in silos, and it's the reason they don't really grow. The very few industries that, are built as a team do tremendously well. So yes, this is something that I'm hoping can be created. And I was speaking with on this actually a few months back, and I'm hoping that we can move fast on this. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll just use that to plug the ADF founding membership. We have officially launched our organizational membership. So if you just go to africandroneforum.org/membership, you will actually see some of our founding members who are listed here. And this is open for any organization on the continent who wants to move things forward, who wants to connect and collaborate. We have a monthly mastermind session, which Tiam has been on. Rose, you joined us, and Eric, as well, and Nathan, I'm sure you'll be on the next one as well. And it is such a powerful group of insight that comes out, on those calls, and we're able to work with each other and talk about, that next level of collaboration. So yes, we look forward to seeing you all as ADF founding members. I'll put that link into the chat as well. And thank you, Nathan, for that. Eric, please give us your takeaways, your final thoughts, and we'll continue from there. Daniel, thank you for putting that in.
Yeah, thank you, Eno. So my final thoughts are a few things. The first, obviously, we talked about knowing the value that you want to give to your client. Drones are just a means to do that. It's not the end of things. Then the second one is collaboration, working together. So you might not have a license, like Eno said, but someone who has, collaborate. And our continent is full of resources and big enough to accommodate all of us. So let's not try to do everything by ourselves. It's important to really work with others. And so let's build something unique. I think what is happening in the US, if you guys are following, in terms of really empowering the local industry, because they felt like it was becoming national security that they don't have actual local industry that could support whatever they want to do in the drone ecosystem. So it's important that Africa as a whole, we work together. And so I'm looking forward to work with a few of you guys, those who are interested in deploying the platform within your country. Let's talk. So we don't want to come and operate the whole value chain in those countries. It's not something that interests us. We really want to have partners that can bring value, and also we give them value because they have something that they can own, not like the platform that we usually use that are not customizable for the African market in terms of pricing, in terms of technology, but we are building something that can fit within the African context. So encouraging everyone. And lastly, business is not easy. You have to be focused. You have to not scatter effort. You have to really focus and enough, or so that it pays off. So it's not going to pay off right away. You have to be very steady, and it's going to be well. Thank you very much, and hopefully we can do this often to empower each other.
Absolutely, very much looking to the next one and what comes after this as well. And someone just asked if this is recorded. Yes, absolutely, it's being recorded, and we will send out that recording after this call as well. And then we will likely have questions to all the answers as well that have been asked. So if for some reason we don't get directly to your question, I'll make sure that the notes after the webinar will have that answer inside. Please, Rose, you want to give us your thoughts, takeaways, and yeah, what we can take away from today.
Yeah, so once again, thank you for the platform. I think a lot has been said, but what I'll add is two things. One is safety. We're all operating on the skies, and we know that from the Africa point of view, the skies for drones have just been opening very slowly. So the moment we mess that up, we mess it for everybody else. So those of us who are operating in this space, I think it's very important to follow procedures and cooperate. So that one, because then it does it for everybody else. Otherwise, you know, the aviation authority, once they hear one problem on one sector, they close everything else. And then the next person, also the next country copies just because it happens once. So that, and then also somebody talked about a government. So we know governments are most like the employers. They're the biggest employers, especially for business people. And part of the trends that we're seeing is this, inviting other people to come into the space, doing exactly what you're doing on the ground. And then we've also seen a trend in which drones are very sexy. So you find that the minute they find out that this can be done by a drone, they do a huge purchase, and then they keep it in-house. And we know that that technology keeps changing every other day. So before you know it, everything that money was spent on is just left to rot somewhere. And by that, we are missing the Bible that we are all sort of preaching, which is efficiency, which is bringing value. So if there's a way we can actually cooperate with our governments, I think, and also some of the private sector cooperatives and all that, those ones, I think, so that once we say that it brings value, then it's tangible and you can actually point to some people who have this on their balance sheet somewhere saying that this has been efficient to us. And that's how we also grow this space, because it's all about value. If that's what we talk about, then we can really grow very fast. So that would be it from me.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's great. Great points. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's the professionalism, it's the safety, it's meeting, these regulators where they are and being good examples. I always say, yeah, we're one accident away from, some really, really stringent, regulations or things coming down. So the more that we're all being safe, we have SOPs, we are following checklists, even when no one is watching, right? You pull out that checklist, you go through the motion, because that becomes repetitive, right? That becomes a part of your company culture, and we all benefit, from it at the end of the day. So thank you, Rose, for that. And I think, yeah, we'll get a closeout from Tiam. I know you've made a lot of great points today, but yeah, what are your key takeaways? What do you all want us to have as we start to close out?
I think thank you very much. From everything that we heard from all of us and panelists, and from the questions we got on the chat, I think it all boils down to education, information. For people to know about checklists, for people to know about safety, for people to know about what to buy, what not to buy. It's all about information and, capacity building. In our opinion, if we want this technology to last, this technology and what comes out of it to be profitable to us, to our continent, to our government, to our countries and communities, we need to educate the users. We need to teach them what these technologies are, what are the advantages and their limits. Because as you rightly said, drone is not all about it. It cannot solve all our problems on this continent. And we should not think that is just there is a witch, there is something inside that solve our problem. No, it's all about education. If you don't know how to collect data with it, you won't know how to collect data with it. If you don't know about the regulations, you don't know about how it works, what are the rules and regulations, you won't be able to use it well. So we want to urge all our friends, communities on this continent, let's change the status quo. Let's work together to build the strongest community of operators on this continent. The strongest. When I'm talking about strong, I'm not talking about big, it's just united, serious safety community where we protect ourselves, protect our communities, and lead the debates. That's the only way we can survive on this continent. Whether it is manufacturing, whether it is selling, whether it is using, whether it is, everything that you think about. We are at the beginning of this technology, and the only way for us to use it, the most sustainable and safe way, is to educate our communities, educate ourselves. That's the only way forward, in my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, that was, very, very well said. And yes, it starts with us. It starts with the community. Starts with educating the community on those safe uses. And that's exactly, what we're looking to do here, at the African Drone Forum. So I would encourage you all to go and find our LinkedIn page. If you are not already following us on LinkedIn, this is where we do a lot of our updates throughout the week. We touch on different news stories and events that are happening. I do want to also plug in our Aviation Africa event that we are doing in Rwanda. That is September 4th and the 5th. It is traditionally a manned aviation show, but we are running the drone and advanced air mobility track at the conference this year. And it's a great opportunity for these discussions to happen, interact with the civil aviation authorities. There's going to be over 30 CAAs represented at this event. So if you are able to join us in Rwanda in early September, please go to our website. We have information there. Reach out to me, directly, and we are looking to work with our partners there. But check us out on LinkedIn. Make sure that you're signed up to our email list. We're going to be starting up our monthly newsletters, again, to keep you informed as well. And then check out, again, our membership. This is something that we are looking to grow officially. You will see that there is a form, right, that you fill out and express, why you want to become a member of the African Drone Forum, some of the value that you're going to be bringing here. And we are looking to build and work with the best, the brightest, minds, on the continent, and have things for both the organizations and the individual, members as well. So everyone is definitely invited to participate and join. And we want to make sure that we're growing this over time. But I think we had a tremendous panel today. We had so many great questions. And again, if we didn't answer your question directly, we have a copy of every single question. And after the call, you will get a link to the recording, and then you will also get a link to the questions and associated answers to all those questions as well. And then be on the lookout for our next webinar. We will actually send you a poll to ask you what topics do you want to hear about on future webinars as well. And looking forward to getting your feedback. But with that, I know we're a little over time. I know it's getting late in some parts as well, but I do want to just thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists for taking the time to be here with us. And we're very much looking forward to more opportunities to interact with you all. So with that, I will just say goodbye and thank you all so much for being here. And we will see you on the next webinar for the African Drone Forum. So thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.